Hi guys, Trump announced that he will cut the funding of WHO because it's too China-centric. The main problem there is basically its director, called Tedros Adhanom. So what's wrong with this guy? Let's go on Wikipedia first. It says that he is first non-physician ever been director of WHO. Sounds a little bit strange. Let's explore some of his biography. From 2005 to 2011, he was the health minister of Ethiopia. And then from 2012 to 2016, he was the minister of foreign affairs of the same Ethiopia. And then in 2017, he got his position at WHO. Let's see how good Ethiopia in terms of democracy. Wikipedia tells us it's 124th place out of 167. It means we are dealing with the guy who was a high-ranked official of authoritarian country for 11 years. He got his position on July 1st, 2017, and guess what he did in October the same year? He appointed Robert Mugabe as a goodwill ambassador of WHO. Mugabe is one of the worst dictators of Africa during the recent times. He was ruling the country for 37 years. If you ever seen those funny 100 trillion Zimbabwe's dollar bills? That's his job. Let's return to Tedros and see what's his political affiliation. Tigray People Liberation Front. Basically, it's a violent communist organization, and I really like the logo, by the way. And this party, along with different one, led to revolution in 1991, and since then they have a very huge impact. The story is that this party spent millions of dollars to make this guy a head of WHO. And party in this case means Ethiopian government. But you're gonna ask me, what about China and coronavirus? In January 14th, WHO announced that coronavirus most likely is not transmissible from human to human. And then for the whole February, they were claiming that it's impossible to spread it asymptomatically. None of this obviously was true. And wait a minute, WHO is usually a very alarmist organization. If you remember the Ebola outbreak, they were screaming every corner how it's dangerous, that we need to raise more money and it's gonna kill us. At the end of the day, Ebola is not an airborne disease. Basically, you need to touch someone with Ebola at the very late stage of the disease was full of spectrum and then forgot to wash your hands. That's the only way you can get it. Although it's a very deadly disease, it was impossible to have any epidemic in industrialized world. But back then, WHO director was someone else. Why Tedros is so different? Apparently, when he was a health minister of Ethiopia, he covered up 3 different outbreaks of cholera. In official documents, they just stated that people just got acute watery diarrhea, which is one of the symptoms of cholera. But let's forget about this. Now it's April, it's been like 3 months after the post. But we still don't know anything about virus. What's its death rate? It's 12% in Italy and it's 1% in Australia. We don't know how many people are asymptomatic and how many people were actually sick during this outbreak because we didn't do any proper antibody study. So what makes WHO so busy? 2 days ago, they had a media conference when they actually explained so many issues. Let's watch it together.
We have worked with FIFA and some of the world's biggest sports stars to promote clean hands and physical activity.
That's a very important task, obviously.
And since we announced the One World Together at Home concert with Lady Gaga, and Lady Gaga had already raised $35 million as...
Did he say $? Like, really?
$35 million.
Let's keep it serious.
This is a special time of year for Christians, Jews, and Muslims around the world. Today, WHO has published practical considerations and recommendations for faith-based communities.
Honestly, I thought all these groups have a unique chance to see whether God is real and whether he protects them against COVID, and they don't really need any recommendation from WHO.
I'd like to get your response to President Trump's threat yesterday to cut funding to WHO, and specifically to the 3 complaints he had, which were that WHO criticized the travel ban to China, and that WHO could have called this earlier and probably did know, he said, and also that WHO was very China-centric.
Someone asked a really important question and this guy spent more than 10 minutes trying to answer it. So I'm just going to show you the best moments of his speech.
From the situation we have now, not only that we said we have been doing everything we can, but we will continue to do everything, day and night, like what we have been doing, to save lives. We don't want to waste time.
That was the most genius thing I've ever heard.
It's very contagious like flu, but at the same time, more fatal than flu.
You're very smart, Tedros.
The focus of all political parties should be to save their people. Unity at national level, no politicizing. Global solidarity is very important.
If you're wondering, he's still answering the question about Trump.
I will tell you a story. This is in the 1960s, 1967, if I am not wrong, when the eradication of smallpox was launched. When the eradication of smallpox was declared, I was 2 years old because I was born in 1965.
He's very bad at telling stories, so I'm gonna make it short. USSR and US joined to fight the smallpox. And then he decided to repeat that we need to come together and fight it.
They should come together to fight it. Should come together to fight it. Is this not enough? It's more than enough.
It's more than enough. He was answering this simple question for 10 minutes and haven't even touched it. But maybe now he's gonna do this.
I know I didn't address your question directly. I don't think that's necessary.
Wait, really? Another, a little bit more liberal journalist tried to ask the same question again.
Without referencing the criticism from President Trump that when doing so in the midst of an unprecedented global emergency, when you do get criticism from world leaders, and perhaps President Trump won't be the last, does that really create a setback for you?
Why would I care about being attacked when people are dying? Why would I worry about myself when the number of deaths is increasing? I can tell you personal attacks that has been going on for more than 2-3 months. Racist comments, giving me names, black or negro.
No one is criticizing you because of your race, but rather people trying to say that you're incompetent, not so smart, and try to hide some truth about COVID to please China. I've been to Africa many times and spent some time in Ethiopia, and I met a bunch of smart and nice people who were able to speak English much better than you, Tedros. I don't really understand why such an embarrassing guy should lead WHO.
There is a very clear line, a fight between humanity and this virus. That's it. That's what we should use to fight and win.
Again, no answer for the question. Another journalist decided to ask it again.
But could you just address the specific concern? It's not just been raised by President Trump, but you're a bit too close to China.
So we respect every nation. We work with every nation. We try to understand the problems with every nation. We need unity. It's dangerous. Let's not continue to play with fire. It's a dangerous fire like bushfire. It jumps, it grows exponentially.
Basically no answer again. He was asked again and again, no answer. Basically the conference took like 50 minutes and like 90% of the time was devoted to this one specific question, and he said like basically zero about the matter. Another thing, I found a Tedros application for becoming a director of WHO, and it states here that he's fluent like a native person in English. Okay, I'm obviously not a native speaker and I'm making lots of mistakes, but I'm a software developer, not the director of WHO. And I'm not talking about his accent. For me, he's totally fine. But let's be honest, he only managed to formulate grammatically simple statements. For me, this WHO application is basically a fraud. But the biggest problem here is that he is completely incompetent. He's one of those boring bureaucrats who pretends to do something but actually doesn't do anything, just talks about bullshit. Because of guys like him, countries like Ethiopia cannot grow. And I agree with Trump that we should reevaluate the goal of WHO and see how we can transform this organization to something useful. The good start would be to fire embarrassing Tedros. Thanks for watching, hope you discovered lots of new stuff for yourself, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye!